Hello there and welcome back. In the car industry, it's a lot of noise. A lot of marketing teams screaming about the future, CEO talking about flying cars and zero emissions. And if you want to know the truth, you shouldn't listen to the speeches. What you should do is to look at bank account because you know what? Money doesn't lie. And this week the financial reports finally came out and some numbers are really shocking because we have German icons like Mercedes which lose half of its profit because they bet on electric luxury, and we have their rivals BMW that bet not only on EV but they decided to keep their gasoline engines, and because of that they are making profits, and that profits is in billions. Of course, we have a company like Ford that bet as well a lot of money on EV and they are losing those money. Besides that, we have some interesting news that are happening in Europe. So I'm Hugo Storm, grab a drink and we will talk who is winning and who is bleeding. Let's start with the biggest news of this week, the Battle of Germany. So for the last 5 years we saw two strategies. Mercedes, who went all on EQ, they made EQS, EQE, those jelly beans like melted soap, ugly cars, and they talked us that electric only by 2030, and what BMW did? They said, sure, of course we will do electric cars as well, but besides that we will keep gasoline engines and we of course will have a hybrid system. And critics were laughing at BMW and were saying like that company will go bankruptcy, but it's very interesting what we have right now. And when Q3 financial results came out, we saw that Mercedes lose half of their profit, and you can ask why. So the answer is pretty simple. The Chinese market collapsed for them, and in Europe or US nobody wants those EQS because they are expensive and frankly ugly. Now look at BMW. Their profits grew, in some sectors are even up to 3.6 times compared to the dip. And why? It's very simply because BMW gave a choice for the customer. Look, we have i5, we have hybrid 5 Series, and of course we have V8s and straight 6s. So they didn't force a customer, and the customer rewards them with a lot of money. And the funniest part of this story is that Mercedes spent millions on new EQG, electric Mercedes G platform. They spun it on stage like a toy, they hyped it up, but look at the numbers of sales. The gasoline G-Wagon, that one which is loud, boxy, slick brick, is up 30%. And what about electric G-Wagon? Well, the sales are so low that it's even barely not food. This proves a simple business rule: don't fight for your customers. People buy G-Wagon not because they want to save a planet, they buy that car because it's just a mechanical beast. And Mercedes apparently forgot who their customers are, but BMW remembered that and they gave them a choice. So that's why one company is having profits and other company is just in some panic mode. But it's not only Germans. Let's look at America, specifically at a Ford. Do you remember the F-150 Lightning? The truck that hyped really well. Even Joe Biden drive it, and that truck can power your house. Well, Ford announced that they are closing their factory for a while, and the reason is because they sold only 23,000 F-150 Lightnings, and compared to amount they sold of gasolines F-Series, it's nothing because they sold more than 600,000 of gasoline F-Series. So, we are seeing the end of early adopter phase, when California tech guys bought the 150 Lightning, YouTubers bought the truck. So now Ford has to sell the truck to real construction workers, to plumbers, or for people who tow their boats with that truck. And when they saw miles of towing and the time that they need to charge the truck, they basically say, no, thank you, I will probably keep my V8 truck because it's just more efficient. Ford is losing billions on that EV division, as well as Mercedes, and now they are starting to realize that they cannot force a technology to the market which is not ready for that technology. And I'm really happy for that news, because it seems like more companies will come back to gasoline engines, or at least for hybrids, and it's much more better than electric cars only. Now let's fly back to Europe, because things getting there a little bit weird. We have two stories that show how desperate Europe has become. First, the spy bus in Norway. So Norway bought a lot of buses from Yutong, it's in China, and people were happy like, oh, finally we have some electric public transport. But then security experts started looking at the data, and they found multiple modems in the buses, hidden one. And they found out that data were sending back to Yutong, China. Of course, Yutong denies it. They say it's diagnostic data, but we all know they just collecting some public transport map, traffic patterns, where people go. Europe is literally buying infrastructure that spies on them, because it was cheaper than building their own. And speaking of building their own, we have Renault. So Renault announced that they will build again Renault Twingo, that cheap 20,000 euro electric city car. Great news, right? Finally, European affordable cheap car, except it's not European. The new Twingo is largely engineered in China. Renault admitted that they cannot build cheap cars without Chinese help, and technically in some way it's a surrender of Europe, because the continent that invented automobile, like Germany, Italy, France, can no longer build cheap cars without Chinese help. They lost the battery war, they lost software war, and now even French icons will have made in China in their DNA. You know, watching Western car companies right now is like watching a slow motion car crash. So what I'm talking about is Volkswagen, BYD, and even Mercedes. They're literally obsessed with the China market, and for the last 20 years they were building factories there. Of course, because of that, they gave away their technologies, and it's okay. But right now, BYD and Zeekr is technically eating them alive, and European companies are losing share market every month, and it's not very well. So Germans are crying, and what Toyota is doing? They are not fighting for a losing war. What they did, so they are investing billions of dollars in India. Well, why India? Because technically it's something like a new China, because India had 1.5 billion people, their economy is growing, and their market is literally open for any company that want to build cheap and reliable cars, and who can do that? So, of course, it's Suzuki and Toyota. They can produce cheap and reliable cars. And personally, my opinion on that situation, I think Toyota will succeed and earn a lot of billions of dollars, even though that India. But besides that, let's go to the next news. And finally, for everyone who want to save money on EV, I have a bad news for you, because UK for years were saying that buy an EV, no road tax, free entry to London, and subsidies. And it was a party, a tax-free party. And as every party do, and every party had an end, so that one as well. So right now the lights are on and bouncers are asking for money. So UK introducing new taxes for EV. They discussing taxes like pay-per-mile tax, because a lot of people switch to EV and the government is losing a lot of money on gas tax. And the important point is that government never loses money. Government finds those money in somewhere else. And in that case, they will find money in EV sphere. So now subsidies are gone for electric cars and taxes are arriving. The math doesn't look so great anymore. If you bought an EV to save a planet, good for you, but not actually good for the planet. And if you bought an EV to save money on a tax, well, technically in some way you played yourself. Now let's talk about luxury, real luxury. When I'm saying the ultimate luxury car, you're probably thinking about a Rolls-Royce or maybe Bentley. But in Japan there is something higher, Toyota Century, a car for an emperor, or even for Yakuza bosses, or even for Prime Minister. It was conservative, fully hand-built, and it was cooler than a Rolls-Royce because it didn't shout, it just whispered. But Toyota is getting greedy, and from the Emperor car, now they want to make a brand to fight Rolls-Royce. So this week they announced a concept that called the Century Coupe, and it's a convertible open version of the new SUV. So looking at that, to be honest, it's a little bit weird, especially from the top it looks like a toy car. And it looks like one of those plastic models you buy at a dealership to check the paint car. It has lost the classic boxy dignity. It's trying hard to be cool, even I would say it's what a rapper imagine what a luxury car is, but actually it's not. So, the real question is, can they pull it off? What I mean is, can a Toyota actually sell a car for $200,000 or even $300,000 outside of Japan? Would you buy a Toyota over Rolls-Royce or over a Bentley? Well, technically the Century is built much more better than a Bentley and will last longer, but luxury is about a brand, it's about a snobbery. Before we go, we need a moment of a comedy, and of course it will come from a Tesla. So this week Elon Musk came and announced that Tesla Roadster will be in 2026, even though he announced that car in 2017 and promised it 2020, then in 2022, 2024, and now it's 2026. So this car is like a myth, and what I'm saying, it's like a Bigfoot or Loch Ness monster. So until I see that car on a road, it's a myth. And speaking Tesla on the road or off the road, did you see that video from a racetrack in California? Well, if not, it's really interesting, because a motorcycle race were happening and bike going 100 miles an hour were technically terrified because they saw a Tesla driver which were driving Model Y wonders on the track. And to that moment we still don't know was the car on autopilot or not, but it's great metaphor for the electric cars right now. A confused electric appliance is wandering to the place it doesn't belong. And finally, the stupidest news of this week. So we here talking about war on the cars, but in Slovakia they have officially declared a war on a walking, and I'm not even joking. A new law is being introduced to set a speed for sidewalks. From 2026, you cannot move faster than 6 km per hour on a sidewalks. And if you do, it's a €50 fine. They say that it's to stop electric scooters from a sidewalk, but the law is written so lazy it applies to everyone. So if you're late for the bus and you run, illegal. If you're a jogger, you're a criminal. Just imagine a police officer hiding in the bushes with a radar gun, aiming straight at grandmother, and then freeze, you under arrest, you were going 10 km per hour. Well, it sounds like a comedy sketch, but unfortunately or fortunately, it's our reality. So, it seems like all news for this week, and even though electric utopia is crumbling, the reality is messy and expensive, and I would say complicated. But hey, at least gasoline G-Wagon is selling really good, and it should be a good news because it seems like people still want gasoline. Anyway, I'm Hugo Storm, drive safe, and I will see you in next video.